Hello, everybody. This is Mark Stepp, the CIO here at Realvolve, and just want to welcome everybody to the Q&A for beginners. What we're going to do is we're going to open up the screen here in just a second. This is for you guys, so if you guys have questions or whatever, on the toolbar on the right-hand side, you will see an area for questions. You can type in your questions there. If you prefer, you can click on the little hand, and it will show you an area that actually the handing part will raise the hand on this side, and I'll be able to see that hand, and I can just unmute you, and you can just ask away with your questions if you prefer to do that. If you would, just so that I am sure that you guys can see my screen, let me make sure this is on. Put something in the questions and answer that you can see my screen right now. And if you would like, go ahead and start putting in your questions. This is basically set up for an hour webinar, but it will go as long as you guys have questions, or we run out of questions and we'll get an early break. So ask away. It's one of those things that I'm here for you guys, and if there's something that you really, really want to know about, certainly I want to be able to help. Let's see here. Got a couple more people coming on, it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and pull up one more screen here. 1 second. All right. So I have a question here. Actually, this one was just sent in. I'm going through over 2,000 contacts in my Google that I've synced to Realvolve and deleting a bunch of them. But after Realvolve syncs, they're still there. Why aren't they removed from Realvolve? Okay, so this is a great question. We get this a lot, unfortunately. Whenever you have Google Sync turned on, let me do just a little back tracing here. And I'm going to go over here to my settings area. In the settings area of Realvolve, there's several different things. For those that have not set up Google Sync yet, you can go to your My Social Networks, in which case you can set up your Google account, just linking it together. Once you have that Google account linked, then you can decide what information you want to have synced. In most cases, you will have the system set up to sync the system group My Contacts, which is the same My Contacts that you have in Google that's just labeled My Contacts. They don't show you the system group, but that's the name that they give it, System Group My Contacts. Now, whenever that syncs, it'll bring in all the information and that is in Google, and any information that's new in Realvolve will sync back. Now, if you go in there and you delete a name in Google, one thing that we don't allow you to do is delete indiscriminately the records in Google from Realvolve. So what happens is there will be a tag. Typically, there'll be a tag saying something like imported from Google to let us know that this name did come in from Google, so it's there. But if you delete that name from Google and it syncs, it will remove that contact from Google, obviously, but it does not remove the contact in Realvolve. Instead, it will have a tag in there for deleted from Google. Deleted from Google. So what happens then is if that tag, that deleted from Google tag, is in a contact, any changes that you make to it in Realvolve will not sync back to Google. We're assuming that if you have it deleted from Google, you don't want it on there for some reason, but we're still maintaining it here. Now, if you really, really want to get rid of it after that, and you may have several, what you can do is come over to your tags and just say that you want to filter by deleted from Google. That will bring up any of the records that you know were deleted from Google. You can click on the View All option, the little chevrons here, and then you're able to click on the little Mark All option, which will mark all the selected names, come over and say delete. The reason why we do this is, number one, Realvolve typically has a lot more information in it than your Google does, including those records that are marked for properties and transactions. You may have party members in there. You may have showing information, all this information. And if we were to delete that, it could jeopardize all that information that you may ultimately want. You might not want it in Google. You may not want it on your phone, but you may still want that in Realvolve. If you don't, you can come here and verify that you did want to delete them and go ahead and delete it. So it's kind of a second step. But really what this came down to was we had several people, when we first did this, we did have it delete the information. And the problem is they were expecting that if they deleted everything from Google and then wanted to resync everything from Realvolve back to Google, that it would do that. Well, in theory, that sounds good, but the problem is if you're deleting it from Google, it'll delete it from Realvolve, and therefore you won't have those records anymore to go back to Google. So there was a little catch-22 there. So in order to prevent that, we added the tagging option so that it tags it so it won't go back to Google, but it is still in your database. If you really, really want to get rid of it, then you can do a second step just to go ahead and delete those. Hope that made sense. Let's see. Like Jennifer had a question. Let's see. My screen is not up here. Is there a way to sync with Outlook? We are working on some pieces that will allow us to sync to Outlook. Right now, we do not. You can, however, synchronize Outlook to Google. So if you create a Google account, you can synchronize Outlook to Google. If you just do a Google search for sync Outlook to Google or something similar to that, it'll give you step-by-step instructions. And what will happen is it will synchronize your contacts and your calendar to Google still, once you set that up, and then your contacts would then go into Outlook, or if you made changes in Outlook, they would go back to Google, in which case they would come back into Realvolve. So it's a kind of a middle step right now. We are in the process of making some changes to our emailing piece that would also be able to connect into additional IMAP servers that we've been having some difficulty with, and it will also encompass the Microsoft Exchange capability, so we can bring in Microsoft Exchange emails. That's not available yet, but it's in our testing area right now. They're doing internal tests and stuff, so you can be sure that that's coming on its way. So I hope that answered that question. Second question, Outlook Exchange. Okay, so the second part of that question, yes. The Outlook Exchange is coming. We're working on getting that. If you're using Outlook Exchange right now, there is a way where you can turn it on so that it does synchronize to Google. Some people just don't want to do that, and we understand that. Google has been the way we had chosen originally because so many people use Google. It's a great platform so that you can use it from wherever. Exchange is too, but there was not as big a call for Exchange at the time when we first started that. So that's why we went that way first. Any other questions? Why are some things red and some things black in my activities on the fonts? Okay, I think I've had this one before, but we'll cover that again. Whenever you're on your dashboard or anywhere else where it shows activities, up here at the top, if I click on activities, the little activities piece will show up. You'll see a lot of these that are in red, the red font. Likewise, if I scroll down here, the same types of activities and stuff that are showing in red. If it's red, it means it's past due. It's past today's date. For whatever reason, you've not done it. And the way we figure it is if you've had it scheduled, you need to either complete it or delete it. So whenever something comes due, all you got to do is check it in most cases, unless it's something that you need to send or something like that. Whenever you go to check these activities, they will magically disappear from the list. And if there's any kinds of activities that have to be done along with it, it'll show you your checklist and stuff like that. So, you may have things on here that get partially done at times, and you know that they're not fully done or whatever, but I'll just go ahead and say save and close. Whenever that comes back up, I mean, it'll still stay there because I still have things to do. It's not complete. So as I continue to complete things off the checklist, it will eventually complete it. Once it is completed, or there might be something that I don't need. Let me just say property address. I want to make sure, yeah, that was checked, but change the price on a personal website. It's not really needed. I can click on it twice and it'll mark it off. It doesn't mean that it was done, it just means that I didn't need it. So you can do that. Once you've got everything either dealt with or whatever, you can have actions that go along with the completed checklist, and you have to deal with those as well. I'm just going to go ahead and say this one is made up so it would send the status of what was completed to the seller. I'm just going to save and close, or I can skip and it'll do the same thing. So that activity, once all the checklist items was taken off, anything that's past due that you just want to make sure gets done, you have to go through the steps of either completing it or deleting it. And otherwise, it'll stay in the list and it will continue to bug you until you get it done. That's the purpose of that, is to make sure things don't drop through the cracks. If they do drop through the cracks, then there's a problem. Very good. Hope that helped that one. Let's see. Any other questions? I want to keep some of my notes on my screen. They keep getting lost among my emails and other notes. Is there a way to keep them in my view? Okay, so yes. This is another one that we get occasionally. It's not quite as big, but okay, so whenever you're dealing with people, let me just go to Jim Scott. I use Jim Scott for a lot of different things. You'll see that there are several notes and stuff on his things. As items come up, more emails get sent or whatever, it will put them in the list by date. However, if you come to a particular one, you see this little thumbtack, you'll see that there's a little thumbtack on 4 of these up here. These are things that are thumbtacked as important. They are tacked to the top of your list. You can have more than one note that is tacked to the list. Once it's been untacked, then it'll go back into its normal date range once that activity itself is refreshed. So anything that is marked by the thumbtack, is going to stay at the top. So anything you want to stay at the top, just thumbtack it. Makes it real simple. Let's see here. More questions. So we'll make sure, is this helping you guys? Make sure we're getting everything answered for you. I really enjoy doing this particular session because I know as beginners, and sometimes it's not so beginners, but sometimes you just you've got some questions and you're afraid to ask. This is a place where you can ask, and it's safe. You guys can ask whatever you want, and I'll be happy to answer it. We have a lot of really good users. We got a lot of people that put a lot of input and stuff into the product, and very proud of that. But we want to make sure that you guys know how to use it too. So I'm going to move my screen around just a little bit so I can see some stuff a bit easier. Any other questions? What are the colors on the left-hand side? Okay, so the colors, I've got, I'm assuming you're asking about the green, orange, stuff like that. Any of the contacts that you've got in your database, whenever I go to, say, Martha Washington, yeah, I know her, absolutely. You've got your A, B, C, and D, your categories at the top, and anybody can be in any one particular category. Your categories can be identified any way that you want, theoretically. The only thing that you might want to meld in your mind a little bit is the fact that A's are typically higher priority than B's, and B's are higher priority than C's, all the way down to D's, or absolutely nothing. So you've got the 4 different categories plus no category if you want. Now, the way a lot of people will identify these is the way I typically tell people is the A's are people that you've done business with multiple times, and or they've referred you multiple times, and they're on your A list. They're your cream of the crop type of client. You really like them, and they like you type stuff. Your B's, which is the yellow color, yellowish color, are maybe people that you've done business with at least once, or they gave you a referral at least once, but they've not been raving fans. Your C's could be those people that you want to do business with them, but you just haven't yet. You're wanting to, make sure you do some special stuff with them occasionally. And sometimes those D's are the people that you did business with and you just don't want to do it again. I typically give that as a scenario. But you literally can make that category however you want. So by all means, do it. Now, one thing that, and the reason why I say the category is important, by A's are more important than B's, is part of the relationship scoring. It deals with category. So whenever you assign a category to it and it saves that information, the scoring mechanism is incorporated on that as well. So it will add and subtract scores from these. So you might have 2 friends that you find that you do the same things with, whatever, and you might do something a little bit more with somebody else. You can make them an A versus a B. I mean, that type of thing. It's just totally up to you how you use it. But that is where those colors come from. Now, if you want to change all those, a little bit easier, a little bit better way of doing that is you can come over here to the View All. I clicked on the chevrons on the left-hand side. And you can go to this grid view is one option where you can see more information about these, including their photos and their stuff. And you can just go in here and select whatever category on each one of these. Just kind of going through them very quickly, one at a time, without having to edit each one individually. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is going through and say you pull up a list of a certain category of tags or certain representations somehow, some way. You've got them filtered down to a certain way. I've got 15 names here. And maybe I want all 15 of these names to be placed on my A list. I can come over here, mark them all, and over on the far right-hand side is this little drop-down menu, and I can say assign A, B, C, and D. So I come here, and I want to assign all these to my group A's, and assign now. So at that point, it takes that kind of as a batch type process, and it will, next time you refresh your screen, you will see that all of those have been changed over to A's. So it's just a quick way to change multiple records. You can use that same option to change the ABCs, but also the stage. What stage are they in? Are they a suspect, prospect? I'm sorry, that would be the status. Suspect, prospect, lead, client, or past client is for status, and the stage is the aware, know, like, and trust. So you can change those. You can also change out the record type. The record type is like, is this a person or is this a company? And depending on whether it is a company, we typically will show the company, the work address in the address field, versus the home address if it's a person. So some good stuff there. Hope that answers that question. Okay, I want to see all my people that have birthdays in December. How do I do that? That's another filter. So if I come over here and I want to clear my filter, and I click on the little date here, little date icon, I can filter these names by any number of dates. The entry date, when did I enter them, when was the last home purchase, the relationship anniversary, several different ones in there. But if you wanted to do birthday, just choose the birthday. It's actually the default one. Say I want to find everybody that's got a birthday between, say, December 1st and December 15th. And what it then does is it will bring back anybody in those ranges. So if I come here, click on it, and I look at the contact record, you'll see that it has a December 5th. Whenever you're doing birthdays and you're doing the anniversaries, I think we may have changed that, but at least birthdays, I know it will ignore the year for you. So if you just want to come up there and say, I want to see everybody that's got, you know, 1st through the 15th, it will definitely show that. So that's just an easy way of doing it. Once you've got that, maybe you've gone over here, you printed your list, or you wrote your cards or whatever you do, and you want to clear that, you can just click on the clear filter, the X here to clear that filter. Or if you want to maybe change to a different grouping, maybe the end of the month, what's coming up due, and then it'll do the same thing. And then you can also say remove the date range. If you're going to remove the date range, you need to make sure you select the date range option that has the filter, because you'll see here I've got entry date marked, and there's no reset, where I was working earlier with the birthdays, and it does have a filter on for birthdays, so I can remove that date range if I want. So it goes back. So the filters are very powerful, and you can go in there and select your filters in a multitude of ways. Maybe I want to bring everybody that's on my newsletter list here and here. So it brings up everything that's on my newsletters. And maybe I just want to see, well, I want to see all those records that are my A list that's on my newsletter. Maybe I want to send them something special, put something extra in that newsletter just for them. I can certainly do that as well. So in this case, it double filters off the tag and off of your ABC option. Hope that made sense. Any other questions? Bueller. I might tell you how old I am. I don't know. Sophie, are you on the line? Did you have any questions?
Yes. Hi, Mark. I'm here now too.
Awesome.
Sorry, I was late.
No, you're fine.
I
Thought
just joined. No, I kind of just fell right into it, so I don't have
okay.
any questions just yet.
Okay, cool. Well, we've been going through a few different ones and just kind of waiting it out to see if anybody has any others.
Let me dig through some of my customer correspondences from today and yesterday. I'm sure I
Oh,
can come up with a few good ones.
absolutely. One of the things that we recently added, actually, this is, you guys are looking at my beta account where we get to do some testing. Most of the times it's identical to the production one, but I do have something that's a little bit different on mine than what you guys have right now, but you will be getting it soon, is our address report piece that we've been talking about. We've been adding some more stuff to it. One of the things that we've added that you guys might be interested in is we've got a new widget for it so that we can see how many people we've invited to the address report statistics, how many were delivered, how many were opened, and how many were unopened. In this case, I was just doing some testing and haven't really gotten into much of it on this one. But it will tell you some basic information about those people. There's going to be some additional drop down and flip overs and stuff that go along with these, and we'll be testing those here pretty soon. But whenever you're in an individual record and you want to invite a particular person, you can click on the little address report icon, and it will give you an option that you can go in there and send them an invite if you want. And if you've already sent them an invite, it's just waiting for statistical information. It'll typically show you that as well in there. For those that are not aware of the address report, it's really cool. We do have a thing on our blog a few weeks ago that talks about it. So if you go to blog.realvolve.com, you might look around at the where is it at? First impression, real estate clients. No, that's not it. I'll have to do a quick search on that. Basically, it goes through the address report and tells you why it's there, what it's all about, and we've got some video training and stuff on that as well. Some really cool stuff. For each individual contact, you can assign them to the address report, or assign an invite so that they can invite themselves to get it. And then they'll start on a regular basis be receiving emails about their own property, about where they live at. It'll talk about lots of different things: the schools, the market, how it is, properties that have sold around the area, what restaurants are in that area. It's just some good information. But what's really neat is every time you send that out and the person receives that, actually, let me go, I think it was on this one here. So let me go to this here. There we go. So every time you send that out, it will show you, how many times have you been sent, delivered. I haven't opened my email yet, so I know that I did send it, but it's not been opened yet. But how many times did they view the report that was sent? That'll come up, and each time after they do the invite, each time that they go and review that report, you get notified. So if they view the report and it talks about maybe the air quality or the prices of their home may have increased or decreased, you can see what types of things they're getting information on, and at the same time, you're notified that this person is getting this information, and that could prompt a phone call for you. If they're going through and they've opened this email multiple times this week, they may be looking at something special. Something's going through their mind, and they want to, potentially buy a different house, or maybe they're looking at other properties in the area, and you can tell from that address report if they've got a report on that. So some good stuff that allows you to really start up conversation and also keep in the know of what is things that they're looking at.
Okay, Mark, I have a two-part question, actually. Is there a way to have multiple admins on a team account? And is there a way to get an admin notified when a task gets completed by another team member, by a sub-user?
That's a great question. Okay, so you can have multiple admins under the settings section. Why am I not? Something's going. Go here. There you go. Settings. So in the settings area, if you go under the users and permissions, there will be a person on your list here that is the owner of the software. Anybody else will just be listed as sub-users, basically, and there's a little option here that says make admin. If they are set as the admin, then they can basically see all the records all the time, just like you can. Make any changes to rights and privileges, whatever options are there can be changed. And that's real important for, for especially like your closing coordinators and stuff like that. They need to be able to access everything. So you can give them that. If you just really want to break it out and do specific things, you can come in here and click certain security things and be able to set them up however you want, adding additional securities. We've got some training on our training site to be able to show you how to do that. Maybe you just want them to have rights to maybe the workflows. You can come here to the workflows, set them to read rights, but you want to let them be able to read it for any of the users that's in that database, that's in that team. In which case you can mark the little checkbox and then save those permissions. At that point, this user, in this case this is Jake, he will be able to basically see all of his own records. Anything he adds, he deletes, he can deal all that with his records. but he also has the extra rights of being able to see the workflows and use those workflows, even copy those workflows to his own account um, from any of the other users, so he can make some changes to it. Since it doesn't have update rights, he wouldn't be able to change other people's stuff, but he could copy it and then change it if it's copied to his own record. So that gives you the admin rights. It gives you some individual rights. So however you want to do that, but if you make it admin, it does give you that. So the second part of your question was dealing with notification of something that has been done. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so can an admin be notified of other sub-users completing tasks?
Okay. We don't
So
have
now
that.
you can see it on the calendar, right? And
You
just
can't.
filter by
Yeah,
different people.
you can't
But
do
can there be
that.
a notification?
It does not have the notification piece yet. If you go in, you can come in here and say, well, I want to see all the things that Jake is supposed to be doing, in which case that brings that up. So you can keep an eye on anything that's not being done, certainly that way, or you can even go into your calendar and you can say, well, I want to see only those things that Jake has got on the calendar to do, and you can mark those out so you can see things that way that have not been completed. But as they completed, the one thing you possibly could do, let me just think about this one for a second, um, is whenever you are sending something, say for instance on the with here, it's set up for the workflow contact to receive something, the bomb. You really can't do that. That's a great question, and at this point, I don't have an answer for that. The one thing that we have been talking about is in our notifications area. We've got several things that we could add into the notifications, and we just don't do that yet. So I'll talk with our engineers just to see if there's like a way that we can set up in permissions completion activities. The thing is, I wouldn't think you'd want to see every completion that somebody else does, just certain ones. We'd probably have to put some kind of activity option on here that says notify admin after completion or something like that.
Right. And if you click the Google Sync, that only applies to that particular user, correct?
For whichever person it's assigned to. So if I come here and I want to Google Sync this activity, send a bomb intro, and Dale is assigned to it, if I check this, then it'll be added to our calendar whenever they run this workflow. But at the same time, once it's added to our calendar, it'll go ahead and sync that activity to the Google Calendar as well. A lot of people said, well, I don't want all of that, all of my workflow items to be sent over to Google. I only want my appointments and certain to-dos. So that's why we added this, so you have the option of either turning it on or turning it off based off of the type of activity it is that's in your workflow. Make sense?
Got it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could go in there and make every one of these send to Google if you want, but a majority of our users, as soon as we did that, there was a big uproar saying, there's too many activities on my Google Calendar. I don't want that. And so what we did was just we added that option so that on workflow activities, it will give you the option. Now, whenever you're doing stuff in the calendar, just as a calendar activity, say, at 8 a.m. on Thursday the 8th, I want to, make a call to John and assign that to, Mark or whatever. If I edit this, you will see that by default, anytime that you add it, it goes ahead and marks it as a Google Sync activity. So anything that you add onesies, I'll say it that way, one at a time type of activities, it will synchronize to Google automatically unless you come in here and turn that off for that activity. But by default, it does synchronize those to your Google Calendar. Because typically when you're putting things on your calendar like that, it's things that you do want to be notified on. It made sense to do that. Good.
Yes, I'm just looking up another question for you.
Let's see if there was any others on our questions. Pull that out. Nothing right now. We don't have to stay the whole time, guys. If you guys don't answer or ask questions, the more you guys want to learn, I'm willing to stick around for. I love you guys. So, anything else? Okay. What are those notifications? Okay. So, question is the notification bell? How's that used? So, right now, if you have activities that deal with Zapier, so maybe a Zap comes in, you've got import options, and they come in, you'll get notified as a new user. So like here, the contact Danny Towers was created successfully. Sandy Tides was created successfully. So names were maybe entered on a website of some sort. That website form goes into Zapier. Zapier converts that information into individual fields and puts them into Realvolve. It could automatically start a workflow and start that process. But the notification bell lets you know that there is a new person, and it goes ahead and creates a link to that person. So if I come over here to Danny Towers, I click on that, it will now show Danny Towers in the database. So I know that it got put in there with whatever information that may have come through. And this is just a sample type thing, so it doesn't have a whole lot of information. But I got notified through the bell. Now, the other thing that happens is whenever you do that the very first time, there will be a little browser notification, in which case, even if Realvolve wasn't open, it could pop up and say, hey, you've got a new contact in your database. So we get notifications on if they unsubscribe to a mailing list that you've been sending out, if they resubscribe, if they mark it as spam, those types of important notifications all come into this, and is real important for you to kind of look at. So if you've got a little bell here and it has a little number at the top, be sure to click on it, because that number tells you how many new notifications there are in your notification list, and you want to deal with those in one form or another. Notice the Evernote icon. What's that used for? Okay, so every contact, every property, and every transaction has the ability to be assigned to an Evernote notebook. So if you go into your Evernote, if you've got an Evernote account and maybe you set up folders for your different properties or whatever, you can do that from within Realvolve. So basically, if I go to a person and I want to set up a notebook for them, I don't have mine set up on here. It will pop up and say, do you want to create a new notebook, or do you want to choose a notebook to put this information into? So if I already had a Danny Towers notebook, I could just select Danny Towers from that list and be able to, any notes that I type into Danny Towers' records will go into Evernote, and any notes that you add in Evernote would come back to Realvolve. Same type of thing can happen for your properties and for your transactions. If you go into any one of these, there'll be an Evernote icon, and you can do the same type of thing there. So just an easy way to share notes with your contacts. You can set up an Evernote account with a folder and share that folder with that client, so that anytime you want to put new stuff in there, it can go in there, and including notes and stuff. A lot of agents use that. It's pretty cool.
I have one more, Mark.
Sure.
Do we pull in leads automatically from Trulia, Zillow, and Realtor.com, or do we have to use this Zapier.com service for it?
Right now, you do have to use Zapier. Zapier has a free option where you can bring in, I think it's 100 Zaps a month for free. So if you get under 100 leads a month, then the free version of Zapier will work for you just fine. If you do more than that, I think it's $15 or $20 for up to 600 leads. In which case, you've got significant numbers of leads coming in, and it's well worth the $20 a month for it to do it automatically instead of having to pay somebody to fill it in or you fill it in yourself. But right now, the Zapier is the best way of going around that and doing those imports through that. We do have we're working on getting an integrations person that will do nothing but integrations for us, in which case Zapier, not Zapier, Zillow, got my Z's mixed up, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Homes.com, and I think there was another one that's on my list that we will have dedicated imports for. We're working on several others right now, but it's just a matter of time before they are made available to you. But especially Zillow. Zillow has a Zap already, so you can just create a quick Zillow Zap to bring those in, and it works great. And last time I was on with one of my users that had Trulia, whenever a Trulia lead came in, it was coming in on the Zapier or the Zillow forms. So I think they're both using the same forms now, the way it appears anyway. So we didn't have to set up a Trulia one. It just came in as a Zap under the Zillow option. I'm not sure exactly why, but it did. Any other questions? No more questions.
I had one more, Mark, but I lost it.
Oh.
Oh yeah, Mark, one more thing.
Go ahead.
Is there a way to kind of achieve an equivalent of a two-way Google sync for non-Google users?
Two-way Google sync for non-Google users. I'm not sure how you would do that. What can you?
Yeah, so I'm just relaying this as what this was a customer question. So they're not Google users, so they don't have the added value of making use of that automated two-way Google sync.
Okay.
Is there a manual way, so to speak, that you could set up your Outlook account or anything else?
Yeah. We're working on an Outlook account. We talked about that earlier before you came online. We are working on getting Outlook and Outlook Exchange to be able to do syncing better. That's still a little bit of a ways for the contacts and the calendar piece, but it's in the queue to be done. The email piece is what we're working on right now, so you can synchronize your emails with your contacts. Now, you can, within Outlook, set up a synchronize from Outlook to Google, and then using Google to Realvolve Sync would do the same thing. It's just a matter of setting up that free, it's a free Google account. You don't have to do any kind of special stuff. You don't have to get Google or business apps or anything like that. You can just use the normal Google, and it will let you synchronize Outlook to Google and then Google to Realvolve by doing it that way. It is a third step, but until we get our Outlook piece done, that's really the best option to do that. There's really no other. We did Google because whenever you look at the market out there, 80% of the users out there have Android devices. It may be closer to 75 now. iMac, the iPhones in this industry are quite a bit higher. And iPhones also are able to synchronize to Google. So both of those being able to sync to Google made sense for us to be able to synchronize to Google and utilize their syncing capabilities to each of the devices. One of the challenges you get is each device is a little bit different and has to be tweaked a little bit differently. So we allow them to deal with that side of it. We just synchronize to the one Google. Is that being lazy? kind of, I guess, but it's really business smart for us because we don't have to worry about all the new phones that come out every quarter and what challenges might happen. If you get a new phone, you want to make sure that it synchronizes, and the devices do that with Google automatically typically. So it makes it easier on our development team to get other things done instead of worrying about new devices all the time.
Got it. Thank you.
Any update on mobile? Yes, we have a mobile team working on mobile. Give a little background on that. About this time last year, we started a Google, not Google, an iPhone app, and we put that into the hands of a third party, and just didn't meet up to what we needed criteria-wise. Once we actually started using it, it was really bogging down the system, and it was just not where we wanted it. So we've got a new team working on that in-house versus having it outbound done, and we should have it by first quarter of next year. At least we may break it up into a couple different phases so that you can get to the primary information that you want to get to right away. But syncing to Google, I mean, most of the time people want to do two things. They want to see their contacts and they want to see their calendar. And if you synchronize to Google, you can do that very same thing. We know people want to be able to see the properties and do searches and stuff like that. And that's important. We get it. And we want to make, that's what really the intent was with the first round. And it just wasn't matching up to our guidelines. We've got some high guidelines on things that we try to put out. You guys know that. And we were just didn't feel comfortable with what they had done. So hang tight. We'll get there. We do apologize on our mistake of doing it the way we did it. We knew better than to let somebody else do it, but it's the way it worked out. Hope that answers that, Jennifer. Thank you. Like I said, I'll tell you whatever I know. You guys, maybe too much information. Sorry. Okay, it is 2:47 my time. 13 more minutes, unless there's anything else. We're go ahead and close up. Don't want to be wasting your time. Going once, going twice. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you visiting this particular session of the webinar. I will be posting this on YouTube here in just a few minutes once I get it converted, send up there. So if you missed anything or want to send this to anybody that you know needs the information, just send them the link and to our YouTube channel, and you'll be all set. So thank you again. Thanks, Sophie. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. Have a great day.
Bye.